Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Wellbeing Wednesday, which is all about forgiveness today. And you might be forgiven for thinking, what on earth has forgiveness got to do with well-being? But it's actually got quite a lot to do with it, because harbouring hurt and resentment is bad for you. And practicing forgiveness can make you feel a whole lot better in life. Now, there's research that has shown that forgiveness is good for your heart, it can improve your immune system, and it just generally causes you or leads you to have less anxiety and less stress and anger in life, which is obviously going to be a good thing. Because the thing is that having hurt and resentment buried inside blocks your energy system. And when you get blockages in your energy system, it can lead to physical symptoms and even illness if it's not released. All that hurt and resentment is negative energy, and releasing negative energy allows room for positive energy to come in. And so it's always good to release negativity whenever we can. Now, a lot of people are very resistant to forgiveness because they think that it means excusing people who've done bad things or condoning bad behaviour. And I certainly used to think that, and I was very resistant to it. But forgiveness is about healing yourself, not about making the other person feel better. And if you are harbouring hurt and resentment, what it's doing is giving power to that hurt. Whereas if you can release it, it releases the negative energy, it releases the power that the hurt is having over you, and it enables you to feel a lot lighter in life. Now, it's not an easy thing to do. It can take a lot of work, and it can also take a lot of courage depending on who and what you need to forgive. But it really is so worth it. And that applies to self-forgiveness as well as forgiveness of others, because we've all done things in our lives that we feel bad about, we have regrets, but harbouring guilt, again, is a really low energy, and it's a really negative energy to hold in your system. So it is definitely worth forgiving yourself for whatever your past misdemeanours are. Because the thing is, they are in the past and we can't change them. All we can do is to learn from our mistakes, excuse me, release that negative energy and move on with our lives. Now, as I said, it's not an easy thing to do. I know from my own experience, because I was somebody who harboured an awful lot of grudges in my life. And I became aware that I needed to let go of them if I was going to feel better. But I resisted it for a long, long time because I didn't really want to go through the pain and the hurt that I'd experienced in order to let them go. But I did eventually get around to doing it. And yeah, it's pretty powerful. When I started, I think it was the first one that I started forgiveness with, it was somebody that I held a lot of resentment about for reasons that I'm not going to go into, and I don't need to for these purposes. And I literally felt a stabbing pain in my heart as I went through the exercise of forgiveness, which was a bit of a shock to me, but it also told me how much I really needed to practice that forgiveness, because it was going to be clearly a really important thing to do. And like anything that's worth doing, you have to keep at it. It's not an overnight solution. Well, it might be for some people, but it certainly wasn't for me. So how do you go about it? Well, first thing you have to do is grab yourself a bit of paper and a pen and do some thinking and list everybody that has caused you hurt and resentment that you feel that you need to forgive. Now, it might be a short list, it might be a long list, but you need to go as far back in your life as you can in terms of hurts that you can remember. And when I started doing this, I literally went back to playground stuff when I was 6 years old, which sounds weird, but then you realise that actually that's something that I must have had stuck in my system for such a long time without realising what an impact it was having on me. So list everybody And then you've just got to work through them one by one. And obviously you can add yourself to that list if self-forgiveness is an issue, which again it is for me. And there are a few ways you can do it. So the first one is to sit down and bring to mind the first person on your list that you need to forgive, and literally just say, I forgive you for doing whatever it was that's causing you the hurt and the resentment. And you can say it out loud or say it inwardly, but you need to keep saying it over and over again, probably for about 5 minutes at a time. And depending on how you feel after you've done that, if you've still got that resentment or resistance there, you might need to go back and do it again and again. And you just have to keep doing it until it feels that you don't have the resentment towards that person anymore. And then you can move on to the next one. Now, another method is to do it by sitting quietly, closing your eyes and doing a bit of visualization, just bringing to mind the person that you need to forgive. See them as if they're standing in front of you. You're just in a space together, and you just look at that person in your mind's eye, and you imagine really good things happening to that person. And again, this can be really hard to do, particularly depending on, how much resentment you've got towards it. But you have to think about what would really make that person happy and feel good, and just practice bringing that to mind so that you can see them in front of you looking all smiley and happy. And then once you've done that, just gradually let them fade from your mind. Open your eyes and come back to your life as it is now. And again, depending on the level of resentment and hurt that that person has caused you, you might need to do that a lot of times before you can be clear of that particular resentment. But it is so worth it. That's one that I used a lot and the one that caused me the stabbing pains in my heart. But I know that it worked. So the final one that I want to tell you about today, you may know about it. It's a Hawaiian prayer, which is really difficult to pronounce. I think it's Ho'oponopono. You can find it online, and there's a lot about it that you can look up. But it's a very simple prayer, which is really just 4 elements to it, which are, excuse me, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Now, it sounds a bit weird when you're thinking about forgiving others, because it is really directed at you, but it works for forgiving other people as well as forgiving yourself. So again, you just need to bring to mind the person that's caused you the hurt, and then just say that simple prayer, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And just say it over and over until that particular resentment is gone. So those are the ones I wanted to tell you about today. As I say, it isn't easy, and I still feel that kind of resistance rising up in me, even as I'm talking about it, when I think of particular resentments that I need to release. So it's definitely an ongoing process for me, but I know that the more I do it, the better I feel. So I hope it works for you. And thank you so much for watching. I know Julia and Richard both here today, so great to see you. Thank you for that. And hope you have a great day, and I will be back here next week for, at the usual slot, I think 11 o'clock, but I'll post it in the group as usual. So that's it for today. Bye for now.